Okay, I'm tired of talking about food. I'm tired of talking about my diet and fasting, so I'm going to switch things up a bit and talk about aquascaping. One of the reasons I've been talking about mostly food and diet is because in my current temporary situation, I can't really indulge in my other hobbies. I can't set up a fish aquarium. So, since I can't really do anything physically, I thought maybe I'd do something virtually and start this new series, which I'm going to call Tanks for Nothin Aquascaping on the Cheap. A while back, I had a conversation with MD of MD Fish Tanks, one of my favorite YouTube aquarium bloggers. By conversation, I mean I made a comment on his blog, and he made a comment back, and I made another comment back, and he gave it a heart. And on YouTube, that counts as a conversation. Anyway, what I said was I'd really like to get into fish keeping and aquascaping, but I can't really afford it. And he wrote back and said it doesn't have to be expensive. You can cut corners in all kinds of ways if you want to be creative. And I wrote back and said, okay, I'm going to take your word for it and I'm going to start. And that's what I did, and that got the heart. So, end of conversation. I started looking around, and the first thing I found was on Petco. Every once in a while, Petco has a sale, $1 a gallon. So you can get a 10-gallon aquarium for $10. That's what I did. There's also Craigslist. There's a lot of cheap stuff on Craigslist. Of course, Craigslist is caveat emptor. You don't really know what you're getting. It's a used aquarium. So I figured, plus you have to schlep for it. You have to go somewhere and get it, or get somebody to come to your house, or get it mailed. And, right now during the pandemic, I don't want to go to anybody's house. So Petco has this scheme right now, like a lot of retailers do, where I order it online, I drive to Petco, I park in front of it, I send them a text, and a guy in a mask and gloves comes out with my order and sets it in my car for me, and I sit there with my mask on and don't interact at all, and I come home safely. So that's what I did, and I got myself a $10 aquarium. Now, the $10 aquariums, in fact, all the cheap aquariums are framed. And that's okay if you're doing a small aquascape where nothing emerges from the water. The frame just becomes like a picture frame, and that's fine. It sort of disappears. But if you want to do some of those more elaborate things where the wood or the plants emerge out of the water, then it's sort of like this black band across the middle of your composition. So I'm not going to do any of that yet. I looked at the rimless tanks, and they were about 5 to 10 times more expensive than the ones with rims on them. So that's going to have to wait. Maybe after the pandemic, I'll see if I can find one on Craigslist. But in the meantime, I'm going with the cheap ones. And that's probably a good idea anyway, since big rocks and big pieces of wood and things like that also cost a lot of money, and I don't have it. I don't want to spend it, so I figure if I stick with little stuff, I can find it around the yard. I can buy it cheap on Amazon, and that's the plan. I mentioned MD Fish Tanks. He's one of my favorite online fish bloggers. I have a few that I really like that I highly recommend. George Farm is another one. Barry Aquatics is another one. Guppy Guru is a good one. I'll put links. Oh, and of course Aquarium Co-op. I'll put links in for all of those down in the what do you call it, description. But meanwhile, that's what I think about tanks, about finding tanks on the cheap. So actually, about 6 months later, they had that sale again, and I bought a second $10 aquarium. So far, I've got two aquariums, only one set up currently for reasons I've gone into ad nauseum, but I own two, and it costs $20. So that's practically tanks for nothing. And that'll conclude this episode, and I'll see you the next time when we'll probably talk about substrate. So, bye-bye. Oh, and Rachel O'Leary. Forgot about her.